Hello and welcome to Foundations of Math 1. My name's Colleen Latimer and I am teaching this class at PCC Rock Creek and I'm excited to have you in the class. I've created these videos. This is the first of the series for the course. Hopefully there is a little video for each class that we have unless we're doing something entirely different. There's not a lecture portion. The idea is to make sure that people who have to miss class or would just love to see the lesson one more time, that you have a place to do that. So I'm going to keep recording the lessons. They will be much briefer than our in-person time together because that will allow for questions of students and answers and interruptions and just a lot more things in the in-person environment. But if you can't be here, I want to make sure that everybody gets the lesson. So if you're watching this, I'm guessing it's because you were unable to attend our first class, and I'm really excited that you're checking out the video, and I look forward to meeting you in person. But it's also a great place just to, I missed something, I didn't quite grasp it completely, or maybe I came in a few minutes late, and you just want to go and just hear the lesson in a more abbreviated fashion just to give you the most important things. This is a place to do it, so you can expect that for all of our classes coming up. So our agenda for this particular video is just to give you a little bit of information about me. I want you to feel comfortable with me as your teacher, give you a course overview, what the classroom schedule is like, take a finer look at the syllabus, and then I want to learn about you. And because we're doing this in a video right now, I was gathering the information from people in person, and we'll get to the part of the slide where it asks you the questions. If you are watching it on the video and we're not there in person, if you could please send me an email with your answers, that would really help me get to know you. We'll do a little bit of activity, and then there will be a second video actually that is focused on Intro to the GED. This is entirely optional. I know some people in here are pursuing their GED, some people may not be. And so if you want to learn about, get all those questions answered about the pieces of what makes you pass the GED and how many tests and all that things, and stick around because that will be in the next video, Intro to the GED. Okay, so to give you a little bit of information about me, my name again, Colleen Latimer. I like to be really informal. You can please call me just Colleen. We're all adults in this class, and I want to treat each other that way. So here I am with my extended family in Portland. This is my husband and my daughter and son, and my mom and her boyfriend, and my husband's brother and sister and husband, and they're my niece and nephew. So that was a fun day. I really loved hanging out with them, and so I love sharing that picture. A little bit more, I have a few cats. I love dogs too. I don't happen to have any, but if you have dogs, I'd love to hear about them and see pictures of them. And then here's a picture of a painting that I worked on. I really love to paint, and I almost always find students in the class that are artists, and so it's really fun to talk about what you're working on and what excites you. So those are a few things about me. When you see me in person, you might notice that I do walk with a limp. I have some missing fingers. People are often very curious but uncomfortable to ask, but I want you to know I'm not uncomfortable to talk about it if you have any questions. I was in an accident when I was very young, just like 2 years old, and then had a lot of surgery and actually had my leg amputated, so I have a prosthetic leg. But everything's going great now. So thanks for your interest. Some more about me. I went to the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. I got a degree in cultural anthropology. If you're not familiar with that, it's kind of the study of humans and the things that motivate us, what we care about, how we show that. It's a little bit like psychology, but more about, what makes up our culture. And so it's great to learn about different people. And I really like working with people. And while I'm not maybe actively using that, it is definitely a part of how I see the world. While I was there, I got to do some tutoring. I was a tutor And it prompted me to want to go back to graduate school at San Francisco State and get a degree in adult education. That means specifically teaching adults. There's a lot of teachers that fall into this and come about it in different ways, but I really sought to work somewhere just like this, teaching math, as a matter of fact. And I've worked in all of these different organizations, and some of them still work with doing GED work. I train other tutors for GED, and the really great benefit of working with different organizations is seeing how they teach math, how they approach the GED, and just kind of pick and choose what I thought was the best and what was the most satisfying for students. So it's given me a really great perspective on how to reach students, and I hope that you find that valuable as well. Okay, the course overview. What are we going to do in here? We'll talk a little bit about that, get the topics down so that you know what to expect, calculators, my instructional approach, how I feel about teaching math, and like what I do, and hopefully that works for you, and we can definitely have conversations about all the things that might work best for you, and how we can get around that. That leads into math anxiety. People often have math anxiety, and I definitely want to address that head on. And then just mention the PCC resources, because now that you're part of the PCC family, there's a lot of great things available to you, and it's nice to just find a way to become more aware of them so that you can take advantage of all the things that PCC has to offer. Okay, course content. In this class, Foundations of Math 1, we are going to focus on math language. That means, what are the words and situations that turn into math problems? How do we take those, whether it's word problems as kind of the classic description, but it's really situational things that we come across in our lives. How do you pull out the phrases, the situation, and turn it into a problem that you can solve to get your answer? So we need to familiarize ourselves or refamiliarize ourselves with some of those keywords and language that help us formulate math problems. We'll talk about place value, because that gives us a way to understand verbally how big of a number, how small of a number we're talking about. We'll work with decimals, fractions. I know that can be red flags go up at fractions. So if you haven't felt confident in fractions before, I hope that we'll change that in here. But I also have some really good news about fractions coming up. Percent, ratio, proportions. So those are kind of the biggest overarching topics. Our syllabus breaks things down day by day a little bit further. But it's good to know particularly what we don't cover in here and what will be covered in Math 2, because a lot of the things in Math 2 are really the bulk of the GED test. Algebra, geometry. It is a very heavy algebra kind of test. But in order to be ready to do any of these things, we have to make sure that this stuff from Foundations 1 is really solid. So we'll talk more about that as the term goes on, but I just wanted to remind you the things that we are going to cover in this class and the things that are saved for next term. Okay, calculators. The good news is that we use calculators in class. They're available during the class. You can certainly get your own, and there's more information about that in your syllabus. Just make sure that it is that particular TI-30XS, and the reason is if you are taking the GED, it is the only one that's available during the GED test. If you are not working toward your GED, then any calculator that you want to use is fine. But if you are working toward a GED, definitely we want to focus on using the calculator that you have to use during your exam. So the one bit of information that's so exciting about these calculators is that they calculate fractions. So we can put things in as fractions, multiply, add, whatever. The calculator is great at handling all that. So while we do spend time learning all the pieces and parts of how to solve these problems by hand, we don't spend a lot of time actually solving them by hand. So we'll get that information in there. And if you're the kind of person that's like, no calculator for me, I want to really know it by hand so well, that's great. you can absolutely do that, and I will love to help you do it. But if you are like, no, the concept's good enough and I've got the calculator to help me, that's great too. That's kind of what this class is. We want to have the concepts, but focus on just getting the answer out as needed. And really, the mental piece of math is getting that order and figuring out what to put in the calculator. Once we do that, you've already got the concepts down. So you're not really missing out by not using the calculator, if that makes sense. Okay. This class, I really want it to be fun, flexible, and not overwhelming. So, and we want to use learning research to support you. So I kind of like to sprinkle that in wherever I can and help you identify some of the ways that you're going to learn to remember what we're doing in class best. So a lot of that is kind of just folded into the way we do things. Another thing I'd like you to know is, working adults particularly don't have a lot of time for outside reading, homework, etc. I like to keep the class focused where we are doing all of the work that we need to do within the hours of the class time. If you have time to do more and additional outside of class, that's amazing. That is fantastic. But I want people to feel comfortable and confident that they can finish anything that they need to during class, and I will be there to help too. So I don't want people out there struggling on their own. But if there's something that you already know that works for you and for some reason I'm not doing it, or you need to let me know something, please let me know, because I really do want to help you learn your best. So if there's anything you need from me, speak up. I'm excited to participate in your learning and support it however I can. Okay, math anxiety. I like to tell a little story about this because I was one of the kids in high school math that sat kind of in the back of the room, and every time they would put up X's and Y's on the board, I would just be angry. I would be so overwhelmed and angry because I just didn't understand, was too overwhelmed to try to completely understand. So I definitely had math anxiety issues. When I got to college and I was offered a tutoring job, I thought that I was going to be tutoring anthropology and biology, and it was the very first day of the job when I was introduced to this large group of students that I'd be working with, and they let me know that I would be tutoring algebra. Well, I had just not done well in a college algebra class, so sweat was pouring off of me, and I just really needed that job and really wanted to make it work. Well, apparently that was kind of the right motivation for me, and I would go at night and learn that bit of algebra and turn around and teach it the next day. And eventually, that started working out really well, and I overcame and learned a lot of the math stuff that I couldn't figure out before. But also what I discovered was really, really interesting to me. Some of my fellow tutors had math degrees, and soon I had more students leaving other tutors who were much, much better at math to come and talk with me because I found that because I knew exactly why and where and how they were struggling, I could relate to it, that I could help them better than people who really understood math really well. And that was such an eye-opening experience, and it really made me want to teach other people math. I want to pull as many people, to the other side as I can, and help anyone see that doesn't feel like they're built for math or made for this, that, I wasn't either. And through some careful steps, we can all get to be proficient at math. And it doesn't mean that you love it, and it doesn't mean that it's natural to you, but you can get there. You'll also notice that I make a lot of mistakes, when I'm writing things on the board, or I hope that you will shout out and be like, no, that's not the right thing. It's really easy to make mistakes, and I want us to all get really comfortable with making mistakes and get to know each other so that it's not stressful to make mistakes in front of each other or ask questions, So getting to know each other is a really important part of this class for me. I've had a lot of people develop wonderful friendships from fellow students, and I hope that's the same for you. We learn best sometimes from the people right next to us who just learned or just became confident in the lesson a moment ago, and then they can turn it around and show someone else. So I hope that you will discover that this is an opportunity to reduce your math anxiety. And my experience with students coming in here is that things do shift. Things really do shift, and I really do hope that happens for you. Okay, PCC resources. I will most likely have Shauna Poppy come in and talk more about PCC resources, but I really encourage you, whenever you log into my PCC and go to the D2L site, there are always so many announcements. I will continue to forward announcements, from the college about the great services available. So I have tutoring and student life down here. There is a tutoring location on campus where you can get help with math. There's also places to get help with reading and writing, and please take advantage of everything that PCC has to offer. They also have a food pantry. There is, mental health assistance. There's just so many things available to you at PCC. So please look around. If you're having an issue with anything and you want to just come mention it to me, we can see what we can find. And if I don't have the answer, Shauna Poppy, the adult ed navigator, is so great, and she can definitely help us find some solutions. So look for those announcements. Okay, classroom schedule. What does that mean? We have an 2 hours and 50 minutes each class, right? It starts at 10, it ends at 12:50, and I generally run the class this way. The first block of time, maybe around 50 minutes, will be like a little warm-up. We'll do a review of what we've done last time, maybe even look at last time's homework or quiz if there were questions that we can go over together. And then I'll have new instruction. It'll be a new topic, lecture, look at slides, go through example problems together. And then we have some activity where you're working this out, you're working with your classmates, maybe to present something, maybe to just fill something out more, so we'll break up the time that way. And then the last amount of time that we have in here is for you to work on the assignment. So each class period where we are introducing new material, and that's going to be almost every time except for days when we're testing, there will be one assignment. They're not very long, honestly. Some of them, if it's just numbers, they can be a few pages long, but when they are more significant word problems, there only might be 10 questions. So it's just a time for you to kind of stop and work out without me talking, figure out how you're solving these yourself, and it gives you a chance to recognize, oh, I still don't get this, or I need to ask questions. And it's my time to come around and work one-on-one with people. So please take advantage of that. The reality is, in doing that and having this time set up, often we're going to be done within 2 hours. So if class starts at 10, we will most likely be done at 12, but we have that extra 50 minutes if people want individual help, or if you missed a class but you're still not didn't get it from the video. So we have time built in to address any issues that you have with the material, but also I just want people to know that 3 hours is a really long time to learn and do more math. So generally the class is around 2 hours long. There will be a couple rare exceptions, but generally we're all done doing new information in those first 2 hours. I try to take a couple 10-minute breaks. It's fine to have food and drink in this classroom. Just please clean up after yourself. Okay, bathrooms are down the hall to the right. Again, adults, you do not need my permission if you need to get up and get a drink, go to the bathroom. Just feel free to step out whenever you need. I understand totally. So often there is a parking discount, and I'm not sure if we're going to have it this year or not. I haven't seen that, so I'm going to just pop over this one for now, because if we do have a discount for parking or buses, I will let you know a little later. Okay, the syllabus. So I'm handing out the syllabus in person. However, you can find it on the D2L. And if you watch the little welcome video or the start here on that D2L page, it goes into where to find that syllabus. And so you can look at that much more carefully. And again, we've talked about assignments, that we will have a short assignment in every class, basically. We'll also have one quiz each week. That is a college requirement for this course, that we have one graded quiz each week. So if you're in person, that will be in person. If you happen to miss it or couldn't stick around or some reason you're missing that quiz, there will be another version available online to do in the D2L site. So please take a look at that syllabus when you have the opportunity. Okay, in terms of my approaches to learning, we're going to spend some time figuring out what works for you, right? What makes sense? I like to show you how to do things often 3 different ways, and then one may click a lot more than the others. And so, glom onto that and do that one, that's fine. Or if you know a different way, sometimes people grew up learning math in a different way than I'm teaching. Please teach me, teach all of us. Like, take a moment to share what you know about how to solve these problems. If it's working for you, then it might work great for other people. So I don't have a set system of you have to do it this way. It's kind of like, how are you thinking about it and what works for you? I'm going to give you a lot of examples of ways that I know or things that have worked for other students, but you're going to be the best judge of what works for you. Okay, then these are the 6 questions that I would love to learn about you. If you could send me then an email, if you're watching this later, send me an email with these things on it. If you were there the first day of class, then I already got this from you on your index card. What's your registered name? What do you like to be called? What are your preferred pronouns? Are you seeking a GED? What's your career education plan? Or like, what courses are you taking next at PCC? It really helps me to know what kind of examples to use if so many people are going into one field or another, or just help you have the right expectations around, well, how much math am I going to have to do after this, or what does my next kind of college path look like? And then number 5, if you could tell me what you would like me to know about you as a learner, how can I best support you? And then number 6 is the best way to contact you. And I'm asking that purely if one time a few terms ago I got really sick on the day of class and it was getting late and I just wanted to make sure beyond email, how am I going to let people know that I'm not there, that I'm sick? So it's really just for emergency situations. Generally, if I have something to announce, I will certainly send out an email, but I understand that sometimes people don't look at those on a regular basis. So if you have another way for me to contact you, that would be great. And then in class, we spent some time kind of going around the room and letting everybody know our names, because I really want this to be a community. It makes it easier to come to class when you look forward to seeing people. It makes it easier to work on projects together when we remember each other's names. And just, we want it to be a learning community. So that's what that's about. So generally in class, I've gone slower. I'm having conversations with people, and would be about where I would take a 10-minute break. So after we come back from breaks in class, we do these group learning activities, because again, one of the best ways to learn and remember is hearing and talking about it with your classmates, doing things different ways. So most of the time in classes, we have different choices. Sometimes it's 2 groups, sometimes it's 3 groups, but I will break out activities that each class you have a choice to participate in one or more groups of what we're going to do. And they're often divided up by people that would like to kind of silently analyze and calculate some problems, maybe write them on the board. Group two is often something that's visual or building, working with your hands. And then a group 3 activity might be talking, writing, or presenting. So maybe coming up with your own problem to give to the rest of the class to work on. So each time you'd have a choice. And in this particular class, it looks like this. Group 1 will be looking at the syllabus questions. Group 2 is setting up a poster that have all the classmates' names on it, because it's nice to refer to when we forget names, just to kind of look up there and remember who's in the class. And then group 3 was to ask an additional question to ask members of the class so that we get to know each other a little better. So these are just examples of the kinds of, obviously moving forward, they will be more math oriented than just getting to know each other and getting to know the class. But that just gives you an idea. And then for the next section, we will discuss how you get your GED, but that will be in a separate video. So thanks for checking this out with me. And again, if you're watching it from home and you weren't able to come to the first class, but you have questions, please send me an email. I'd be happy to talk with you about whatever's on your mind. Thanks.